Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture. And coming up today, we're going to talk about the returns of Hangman Page and the Young Bucks on AEW Dynamite. We're going to talk about the specific term that Vince McMahon wants you to use when you talk about Drew McIntyre. And we're also going to talk about Lio Rush and his thoughts on his relationship with Triple H.
Plus, WWE no longer care if anyone signs their released talent. And speaking of released talent, Ric Flair is no longer with the WWE. This is the news.
But let's kick things off by
I'll take it from here, Andy. Was this the longest clothesline ever?
Well, it's either between Hangman Page last night in the Jacksonville Juicy Boys Stadium or the Great Muta in the Tokyo Dome. I think Hangman Page has got it because an NFL pitch is like 120 yards, right? So Page and the Young Bucks both returned last night. There was a brawl after the Sammy Guevara versus Matt Hardy main event over in the adjacent empty football stadium where we will see the Stadium Stampede at Double or Nothing on Saturday. Started off, the Inner Circle had Kenny Omega apprehended against a post. They were covering him in water. They were looking to put him out of the game ahead of the Stadium Stampede. The Young Bucks appeared in a weird choreographed bit, and then they were all fighting. There was chairs and stuff. It was a mess. And then this figure just comes charging from the opposite end of the football pitch all the way across, proper sprints over and just decks Jake Hager with a clothesline. They brawl. The Elite look like they stand tall at the end of this, but Hangman Page doesn't celebrate with them. He goes straight down the tunnel. He bids farewell. The issues between him and the rest of the group are seemingly not over, but the show closes with a big Elite sign at the top of the stadium, and they're all doing their little poses, and Matt Hardy's being weird and stuff. It was a cool way to end the show.
Yeah, call us as biased as you want. I cannot wait for this Stadium Stampede match on Saturday. I'm really looking forward to this pay-per-view. I saw an image on Squared Circle of all the matches next to each other. MJF Jungle Boy, Nyla Rose Hikaru Shida, the mad casino ladder match thing, Jon Moxley versus Brody Lee for the AEW World Championship, and this insane affair that if you enjoyed, predicting what WWE could do for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, do it here.
Yeah.
It's inexplicable what AEW could decide to do here. And if you're looking forward to it and you're going to be watching Double or Nothing on Saturday, just a quick reminder, join us here on YouTube. Myself and Phil Chambers will be doing live reactions to it. And if Money in the Bank is anything to go by, it's going to be a hell of a night.
Yeah, it should be a good show, man.
It's just, I'm really glad that obviously we had the return last night as well of the Young Bucks and Hangman Page, because it would have felt weird that them just being like, yeah, don't worry, we'll definitely show up on Saturday, but before then, we ain't protecting our mates from a massive group beatdown.
Yeah.
All I can think of, by the way, when Hangman Page was it's just a dot on the horizon slowly running towards the Inner Circle, was that clip from, I think it's Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where there's just someone running at the gates and he just keeps repeating. That's all I can think of. They know how to make memes and GIFs over in AEW, don't they?
Yeah, they absolutely do. Put a little GIF of it on our website this morning. If you haven't seen it, check that out.
Yeah, definitely go and check that out. Right, let's talk a little bit about WWE and their relationship with the likes of AEW, Impact, all the other wrestling promotions, because a new report from Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer has stated that WWE is no longer as concerned about AEW or any other promotions signing its released wrestlers. This was reported on a recent episode of Wrestling Observer Radio. Basically, due to the ongoing global health crisis that we have right now, WWE's feelings and, panic about someone picking up their released talent has either changed or completely gone, because they feel right now is probably the safest time for them, because it's not exactly like, aside from AEW, any other promotion is running shows. So all it's taken, as I said, is a global health crisis to have WWE slightly relax their views.
Yeah, not a huge surprise, this, I guess. Although, it's a view stance they've had for a long, long time. You can't have this guy because we're going to have him instead. Ha ha ha. Take that, little promotions. But, the economic situation being what it is, and promotions like AEW and Ring of Honor and New Japan have lost a far higher percentage of their revenue than WWE has through all of this. AEW has still made a profit in April, so they're doing okay themselves. But these companies aren't in a position to open the checkbook to like 200 different released wrestlers. I do expect like a Rusev and a Revolt and maybe a Zack Ryder to show up in AEW or another promotion eventually, but at the moment the purse strings are a little bit tight. It's understandable that WWE might go, oh, okay, well, maybe they can't afford Rusev right now. We're okay to let him go.
Yeah, it was very cynical reasons, right, why Black Wednesday occurred. But they sort of knew, no one else really is going to pick them up and utilise them whilst they're still white hot with all the buzz of their release going around, aside from AEW. And they also sort of know that AEW do not want to be tarred with that brush, which some people have been trying to accuse them of on social media, of being the sort of new version of TNA by picking up all of WWE's scraps. Look, I think with the guys that they have taken on board, they've really utilised them strongly, but they also don't want to be just known as, if you leave WWE, you'll probably get a job in AEW. Like you say, I think Miro, aka Rusev, or the Revival, now the Revolt, could well be popping up there, and Zack Ryder is another one. But you've already heard AEW quite harshly, and Cody just going, "Nah, I don't want a Heath Slater. Give Heath Slater a job. Come on, he's got kids."
Yeah, man, think of the family. Think of the goddamn kids. Did you not see those segments with Rhino in that caravan trailer thing? It was great stuff back in the day. Let's pivot over to WWE. Let's talk about Drew McIntyre. Vince McMahon has rather specific instructions for anybody interviewing Drew McIntyre at the moment. This comes to us via ESPN's Arda Okal, who recently interviewed Mr. McIntyre. Apparently, Vince wants people to refer to Drew not as the chosen one, like he did many a year ago, not as the WWE champion, not even as a sexy Scotsman. He wants people to refer to to refer to Drew, not himself, as, and I quote, the star of Monday Night Raw, which, I mean, he is, right? He is. Brock Lesnar's not there at the moment, not going to be here for the foreseeable future, it seems. Ronda Rousey hasn't been seen in over a year. Becky Lynch is taking time off, pregnancy. Who else have you got? Seth Rollins? Kevin Owens? Love Kevin Owens, but I don't think he's quite a star on the Drew McIntyre level at the moment, and Drew's done a great job as WWE champion as well. Performances are good, presentation's been good, great match with Seth at the pay-per-view. Yeah, man, it's interesting that Vince is going around saying, hey, call him this, pal, but at the same time, it's appropriate.
Yeah, it is appropriate, but it's always the case, this, especially more and more over the past few years, that Vince worries about the least important things. Look, it doesn't matter if you call him Mr. McIntyre, the chosen one, it doesn't matter. No one's watching Monday Night Raw, Vince. This isn't the issue here. Look, they have a weird obsession with this in WWE of words being allowed to be said and some words being banned and some ways of describing. It's just so convoluted. It's just great. It doesn't matter if you called him Mr. Poopy Butthole himself, Drew McIntyre. He is so brilliant. He's so charismatic. He is genuinely one of the few shining lights in WWE right now. So, yeah, don't worry about what we call him. Just worry about making a good show for him to be on, maybe. Just a thought. Anyway, one person who will not be on the show anytime soon is Ric Flair, according to Dave Meltzer on the Saturday Night's Main Event podcast. Ric Flair is no longer signed to WWE. Of course, you may remember we reported this story a while back surrounding not only Ric Flair, but Sting's WWE departure. Ric Flair's last significant appearance appeared on that July 2019 Raw reunion show featuring alongside the likes of Triple H, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Was that the one with Alicia Fox on?
It may well have been.
Yeah. And of course, he was heavily involved in the whole Triple H Batista storyline heading into last year's WrestleMania. Now, this doesn't mean that, there's been some huge breakup and we'll never see Ric Flair in the WWE again. I think it just means that as of right now, they don't really have any use for him or need for him to be under contract. But yeah, don't be surprised if Rick signs a new contract around maybe the build to WrestleMania next year. But as of right now, he's no longer under WWE contract, and he is now my pick for the number 9 entrant in the Casino Ladder match on Saturday.
I mean, Terry Funk has been unretired about 700 times and wrestled in the 70s, so why the hell can't Ric Flair? No, of course not. We don't want to see that. Yeah, I mean, we're going to see Ric Flair back in WWE at some point. He's been in and out constantly over the past few years, and they've probably just let a contract elapse because, well, what's the need to pay a guy on whatever kind of deal he was on at the moment if they're not using him? Yeah, he's going to end up back there. Charlotte's like the biggest wrestler in the women's division. Yeah, he's going to be back. He's going to be back.
I was going to say, I think we've got more than enough Flair on our WWE right now.
Yeah, we most certainly do. Let's pivot over for our final story of the day. Talk about someone who's no longer with WWE. Let's talk about Lio Rush. We talk about Lio Rush quite a lot, and we love Lio Rush here on the channel. He's had some interesting things to say recently. So he's given an interview with Sportskeeda's Gary Cassidy, at Conscious Gary on Twitter. Check him out, doing a lot of good stuff at the moment. He said he's talking about a bunch of different things. His relationship with Triple H comes up here. So Lio was obviously released on Black Wednesday, April 15th. Regarding that, he said, I don't know if it ended on good terms or not, because I feel like me and Hunter clashed heads a lot. We were always in disagreement as far as what the plan was for me and how he saw my character, or how he saw me as an asset to the brand. I feel like we were just always disagreeing all of the time. And it sucked because, you know, obviously I looked up to Triple H as a kid and stuff like that. He then says that towards the end, there was a clear lack of communication between him and Triple H. They were going back and forth quite a lot, and then it just kind of suddenly stopped. Like there was just a radio silence on one side of it, and at that point you kind of knew, okay, I'm probably getting cut here. But interesting stuff from Lio Rush. He's got, like, I like his point of view, man. Like, whether you disagree with him or not, I think it's cool to have... You know, he doesn't come across like he's just some bitter guy shooting bullets for no reason. He's making his points well, and hearing stuff like this is important because otherwise you just end up with a one-sided WWE hype machine. So
exactly. I think you've heard some people, you know, saying he's a bit of a spoiled brat occasionally on social media, and yes, he's had run-ins, you know, especially recently with the likes of Mark Henry, which everyone has their own opinion of. But yeah, he's very open and honest the way he describes this, and I like the fact that he doesn't just say, oh, it was all Triple H, he was out to get me or whatever. He just says, look, we have difference of opinion. Look, Lio Rush is clearly a very opinionated, but also very skillful and creative person. And Triple H, in running the likes of NXT, you know, has to manage and deal with those personalities. And yeah, it does seem that that's the direction things went in, which is a shame because I think, you know, Lio Rush was a real asset to WWE as much as, you know, there's backstage reports of issues and what have you. In terms of like in the ring and on the mic, I can't be the only one who thought he was absolutely sensational. So hopefully, eventually, I know Lio is concentrating on his music career right now and there's speculation about what's going to happen with him in wrestling ever again. But I'd like to think that hopefully we will eventually see him back. If not in WWE, in another major wrestling promotion, because he's a real asset to this business.
Yeah, like, I mean, ultimately, we all sit here and we just want the guy to do whatever makes him happy and whatever brings him fulfillment. But, you know, on a selfish fan level, I'd love to see him back just doing his thing. I thought the guy was awesome in whatever role they put him in, whether it was starting out in NXT, moving up to 205 Live, doing Bobby Lashley's management stuff. Last year's Cruiserweight title run, it was short, but it was awesome. Great TV match with Angel Garza, really tremendous stuff. So, hope he lands on his feet. He's just released his new album as well, so if you want to check what Lio Rush is doing, check that out. Yeah, man. Good. Like, parties move on, people move on. I want to see him resurface in wrestling at some point, though.
Exactly. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCultureWW, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from everyone's favourite misfit, who says,
Legend.
Could Wardlow be the final person to enter the Casino Casino Royal ladder match? God, I can't wait till this is over so I don't have to keep saying this. At Double or Nothing, or will he just interfere to cost Luchasaurus?
I think there's a good chance that Wardlow will be a participant in the Casino Royal Double or Battle or whatever the hell Diamond Dozen Dynamite ring. Yeah, I mean... I could see them doing the situation where perhaps it's a hybrid of that. Perhaps Luchasaurus has dominated everybody. He's going up to the top of the ladder. He's almost got the chip. And then Wardlow's music hits and he's the ninth entrant and we can do stuff with that. An interference is just as viable. I think they might actually keep him out of the match and go with a surprise entrant, whoever that may be, whoever they could possibly open the checkbook for at this really difficult economic time. But yeah, viable situations. I'd love to see Wardlow in the match. I've really enjoyed his squash matches lately. He's got some really cool moves. And I thought he was really good in the Cody Cage match as well. We need a truer gauge of, like, you know, we need to see him wrestling more often in slightly longer matches. in situations unlike the Cody one, which was so story-driven and so well-built and so well laid out, to get a true gauge of how this guy's going to be, but the early signs are promising.
I think I speak for both myself and Andy Murray, where we say we'd love to see Wardlow and Luchasaurus just slapping meat.
Slapping beef.
My prediction, we did a whole podcast on this yesterday, actually. If you want to go and check that out, it's What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. We've done a podcast on who we think is going to win, and then another podcast who we think the mystery entrant is going to be. I love the idea of it being Jeff Cobb as Taz's protege for Darby Allin going, no, I don't need your up, Taz. Jeff Cobb's just going to murder him. In this match then. But let us know your thoughts on Twitter, who you think it's going to be. Next Twitter question comes from Nick Van Haver, who says, a lot of people talk about who's on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, but who is your pick for the Mount Rushmore of commentary? Mine is JR, Tony Schiavone, Mike Tenay, and Gorilla Monsoon.
Interesting stuff. Jim Ross, absolutely. Bobby the Brain Heenan?
Gotta have Bobby.
Yeah, you gotta have the Brain on there, man. The greatest color commentator of all time. Oh goodness, this is kind of tough. I've been watching a crap load of old wrestling recently, so I'm going to be an absolute nerd and say Lance Russell, and I'm also going to say Jim Cornette, because say what you will about Jim Cornette, the man, there's a lot wrong with his public persona and how he presents himself, but the man has always been a tremendous manager and a tremendous commentator, a Hall of Fame worthy person in both categories, I feel.
Yeah, I think you're mostly right there. You can't argue with like Bobby the Brain Heenan or JR. The one name I think you've missed though, Andy Murray, the one name that would really complete that Mount Rushmore, and also like physically looking at the Mount Rushmore, I could just see it. Byron Saxton. He's one of the stars of WWE in 2020. Oh, hell yeah! And that's his catchphrase now.
We love
Andy,
Byron, man.
I believe you've got a question for me as our final Twitter question for today.
I do? Mm-hmm. Have I completely botched the bit?
It's fine, I'll get it, don't worry.
Sorry.
The final question for today comes from Jake on Twitter, who says, this one is for Mr. Wilborn. If only one is possible, would you rather have the Iconics become the first ever two-time women's tag team champions, or have Titus O'Neil, aka the leader of Titus Wade, become the new Intercontinental Champion? What do you reckon to this one, Andy, first of all?
I think that I've totally screwed this up, and I'm sorry.
What would be more unbearable, do you think?
Probably the Iconics, because, just for the sake of my ears, I have to take this thing out of my lug every single time we hear the voice. So probably the Iconics, but it would also be the most fun in that way because, it's fun. They're just a fun act, man.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to find out very quickly here because I want to give a massive shout out to Titus O'Neil. He's been named a finalist for the Muhammad Ali Sports Humanitarian Award as part of ESPN's annual Sports Humanitarian Award. So massive congratulations to him for that. Well deserved. He's an absolute legend for that. As much as I'd love to see Titus being Intercontinental Champion, I don't see that happening unless there's some drastic changes in that tournament. And also, I'm anticipating a final where it's like Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles, which would be absolutely epic. So, especially considering how awfully it was booked this week, and the speculation, it might have been fixed a little bit on the bump I'm hearing this week. I would love to see the Iconics become the bloody tag team champions once again, because I just think that they'd be great. That's the best role for them, and I think I'd rather see Titus regain the 24/7 championship, the inaugural champion, don't forget. Right, let's move on to today's and finally, and not to end on a bit of a sad note, but of course we had the dreadful news of Shad Gaspard's passing yesterday. Once again, the thoughts of us all here at What Culture go to Shad's family and friends. And if you want to do something about it, as we are going to be doing here at What Culture, go and check out Collar and Elbow. They are selling a Shad Gaspard shirt with 100% of the proceeds from the shirt going directly to Shad's family. If you can't afford a shirt, but you want to send donations via PayPal, there's a link on their Twitter as well. It's Collar X Elbow, Collar and Elbow on Twitter. There's also going to be a GoFundMe that they're going to set up shortly. But look, we saw the huge amounts of outpourings of support for a real-life superhero, as we described him yesterday, Shad Gaspard. So if you want to go and support him, get the T-shirt, send donations, or go on the GoFundMe, because his family deserve it. And if you saw like the touching tribute JTG put on Twitter to him, it's just a tough time for everyone involved really right now, Andy.
Yeah, horrible news yesterday. Just a really terrible situation. Guy with a wife, guy with a kid. These are tough times, and not everyone has spare cash lying around, but if you do and you are able to and you want to contribute something to his family and honor his memory a little bit, this is a great way to do it. By all accounts, just a tremendous human being. Moments before his passing, he saved his son by directing responders to his 10-year-old. He stopped an armed robbery in 2016. This isn't just some regular dude we're talking about here. So if you can, if it's within your power, grab yourself a T-shirt. That'd be a really nice thing to do.
Yeah, an absolute legend, Shad Gaspard, unfortunately passing away yesterday. As I said, if you want to check that out, go on Collar and Elbow's Twitter. It's at CollarXElbow on Twitter. If you want to go and get that shirt. Myself and some of the guys at WhatCulture are certainly going to be donating to that and buying those shirts a little bit later on today. But let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dad Louise reviewing their Wednesday Night War a little bit later on today. And then we'll be here live at 4 p.m. on YouTube with something... Well, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to tell you, so I'm just going to say this could be something very special live on WhatCulture Wrestling's YouTube at 4 p.m. today, so make sure you check that out. Plus, you can send us your Twitter questions at WhatCultureWWE on Twitter. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at...
You follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for, hey man, what's in this orange box just above my shoulder? If you know, you know.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE, as I said. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.